I know this sounds silly, but like literally, how did you go about starting? Like, what were the first steps that you made? Was it to find your co-founder? Was it to like what were your first steps to creating Alloy?
I mean, the first step is really just thinking about what, coming up with a vision or an idea of like this is a problem that needs to be solved, and then figuring out kind of the ways to start talking about it. And actually I started to talk to a lot of people, and lots of, different people in different areas, some doctors, some former entrepreneurs. My initial thought actually was, how do you eat for menopause and not gain 20 pounds like I had done? So I was really trying to lose the weight and sort of keep it off, and this was obviously well pre GLP-1s.
Pre-GLP-1s.
Yeah. And so I was really struggling with my weight and feeling very bad about it and feeling, upset. And so, but I also didn't really know at that time all of the connections between menopause and estrogen and weight and all of the other things that happen to your body, as you age. I did by that point already have a prescription for menopausal hormone treatment, but it was inconsistent. And so I was sort of all over the place for 5 years. But really after speaking to a lot of people, it all kind of coalesced when I met my partner, my co-founder, Anne Fullenwider, who at the time was the editor-in-chief of Marie Claire magazine. And I met her sort of socially. We were both on vacation in the same small town in the North Fork of Long Island, and she looks very much like me and had the exact same puppy, essentially. And, I kept running into her and thinking like, I eventually went up to her and I said, I think we should be friends because we have kids the same age and we have these two puppies, and like, I'm going to walk the dog at 6:30 tomorrow morning. Would you like to join me? And she did. And so for the next week or so, we started walking the dogs every morning, and just, as women do, talking about all the things that you're going through in your life in your mid 40s, and, whether it's careers or children or health and parents aging and all those things, we kind of hit every topic. And by the end of the after the summer ended and all the kids had gone back to school and stuff, I reached out to her and I said, I have an idea. I think that you should quit your job and we should fix menopause. And, we kind of met a couple of times. We didn't really have any idea how we were going to do that. But one thing led to another. And this is sort of also, I think, where it's important for people who are thinking
Yeah.
about founding a business or getting into entrepreneurship, like talk as much as possible to as many people as you
Yeah.
possibly can, and things will start to take shape. And you'll have a lot of conversations that won't go anywhere, but some will. And that's what's important. So just don't stop talking. And eventually we had a few conversations, and then she was actually introduced through her work to someone named Encore Jane, who became our first investor. He was a 29-year-old guy at the time. Now he's in his mid 30s. And he was talking about, he's an investor, and was talking about his interest in businesses that have some sort of friction or shame, associate,
Yeah.
like are solving a problem that has some sort
Yeah.
of friction or shame. And she and life stage businesses. And she said, what
Yeah.
about menopause? Nobody's talking about that. And he said, I've been looking for a menopause company
Yeah.
and there
Yeah.
aren't any. And so, she was like, well, my friend Monica wants to start one. We should have a conversation. And that's really how it started. And basically, he was like, I'll give you guys some money. We really needed something concrete in order for
Yeah.
Anne had a full-time job at that point that she was leaving. And I was obviously an entrepreneur, so I was a little bit more flexible. But what was great was that he really thought, that we would be a great team to
Yeah.
tackle this problem. And so he was like, I'll give you some money to kind of figure it out. And that was 7 years ago. And they've
I mean,
continued to be our investors.
yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I love just the serendipity of it all. You
Yeah.
meet someone randomly, become friends, and you meet an investor. I mean, it sounds pretty magical.